Similarly, there are a large number of such classifications which may exist. Basically, things to be seen while making laws, while performing acts, while determining rights, while exercising duty, is whether the classification is fair and intended to be fairly made and applied. So it is a concept which is the most practical concept of the rule of law, because there it comes specifically down to situations, to persons, to ideals. So that is where the rule of law comes. When you apply that to every individual case, only then you can say that this is the practical face of the rule of law. Again, equality before law is a general concept, as I already explained. But equal protection law is the applied concept. You make a declaration, everyone is equal before law. Yes, very good. The other thing is, when it comes to determining how they are equal before the law, then you apply the principles of equal protection. Then practically you are able to determine the equality. So now you know that all doctors are equal, all lawyers are equal, all engineers are equal. Then within engineers and doctors and lawyers, certain doctors are equal with certain classification. Certain civil servants are equal. So therefore, you can make law among for civil servants which apply different classes. So therefore, everyone cannot be equal among civil servants too. So there can be a federal service, there can be a provincial service, there can be an all Pakistan service. So you will make law differently for them. For example, question arose in one of the judgments where provincial police officers wanted to be treated equally to the police officers who are inducted through the competitive examination, the Federal Public Service Commission. So what we call as PSP, Police Service Authority. Now the provincial service officers, because the most privileged class amongst the police officers is those who belong to Police Service of Pakistan. So the question would be, how do you say what are the rights of the provincial police officers and those who belong to that service? So they said that we should be treated equally. Provincial police officers were of the view that we should be treated equally. But the question is at what stage? And an inspector cannot be treated equally with deputy inspector of general police. Naturally, that's a different classification. They achieved a position through a certain process. The question arose that there was a percentage of provincial officers which can be inducted into the police service of Pakistan. For that, they have to arrive at a certain level, meaning thereby that induction can only take place, say, in grade 18. So the rules provided that yes, who will be in the police service of Pakistan? Those who have been inducted through competitive examination. One. The second category which can become part of the police service of Pakistan is those who are inducted from amongst the army officers, as the rules provided. Third category is those who are inducted into the police service of Pakistan from amongst the provincial police officers. Because they should not be left at the mercy of their own. Their provincial police officer will never go beyond DIG, and most of them will even retire as well. But once they enter into the police service of Pakistan, they can rise to become IG, they can become Home Secretary, whatever they are. So therefore, I said quota was fixed for them. But the question is, in order to enjoy the protection and the relevance of that quota, what category classification they have to come that classification has to be of a person who is SP in grade A. Only that is the person classification which will have the right to get inducted into that police service, the privilege service. Therefore, equality clause is not violated because you have a separate service. Because PSP is basically all Pakistan service which Constitution allows. So therefore, that classification is a valid classification. Induction into that has to be done through a certain due process. And what is the due process? Due process that a provincial police officer has to reach a certain stage of his career and achieve a certain position in his career. That is a grade 18 there. Only then he reaches in equality with that of the police officers, other police officers inducted in the police service of Pakistan through competitive examination or through induction from army, and then they are equal, and then the induction can take place, and then they can become part of one service. I'm giving this example just to say that this is one example of equal protection of laws, meaning thereby classification. Classification within classification. The police service is a classification, but within that there are 3 classifications. So there is nothing wrong with classification because equal protection of laws presume classifications, provided classifications are fairly made, provided fairly applied, provided there is no element of malice, malafide in making those classifications. So come to the details of things. And such things will exist everywhere. You will come across these situations everywhere. You may have to tax people according to the districts, according to the businesses, so you will have to classify a certain kind of businessman doing a certain kind of business at a certain a certain area, certain cities. So there will be 100 kind of classifications that will arise whenever you will deal with an actual situation. So what I'm saying, the rule of law, equality before law, is a general concept. Actually, it is when you apply the due process and when you apply the equal protection that this idea of rule of law is actually served in practical terms. And this is what would be the most relevant for you, to see whether the rule of law is being applied through your hands, through the files that come before you. It is these, whether there is a due process has been used for the purpose, and secondly, whether everybody is equally protected before you according to fair and just classification. So this will ultimately end up there, and that is why under the Indian Constitution they have also developed this concept quite well under Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, which incorporates both equality before law and equal protection of laws. Similarly, Pakistan has incorporated into Article 25. So also about service in Article 27, but Article 25 is the most relevant and more general about equality, equality before law, the equal protection of laws. So, and I think Pakistan has fairly, our courts have developed this concept of equal protection of law. There have been many mistakes, so therefore question does arise every now and then. One of the recent one was about the sacked employees. About 16,000 employees were sacked, and then they were re-inducted in 2010, and the matter went up and up. So ultimately, Supreme Court had to decide whether the law that made re-induction of the sacked employees was fair, just, according to equality clause or not. And eventually they made a judgment that though not exactly it met the criteria of equality, but at the same time, in order to be just and in order to apply the principles of due process under Article 184.3, the fundamental rights, they should not be deprived of the service they've already performed over a substantial period of time, because that will ultimately hurt their own, will hurt their lives and their other fundamental rights. So meaning thereby these concepts are the ones which will be affecting everyone, particularly those exercising any official position. So therefore, concluding this, I will not go any further to that, and I would like you to have specific questions on these. That the real guardian of rule of law are these two concepts: due process and equal protection. If they are properly served, then you can say that in a country, in a society, in an entity, the rules of rule of law are being followed. The concepts, the meanings are being followed. So therefore, these are the practical aspect of what we know as the rule. Thank you so much.